All right, thank you so much for joining me. This is Austin, and this is the first video of my Responding Kind series. So I put out a book called Responding Kind, published it on Kindle, and the book is basically my insights, experiences, reflections, and all of my most valuable lessons all put together into one work. And it's basically a reflection of who I am after coming out of the psych ward and having my mental breakdown and rebuilding myself from ground zero. And so I'm doing this video mostly to explain in depth more of the writings, but also hopefully to give encouragement as well as some valuable advice to anyone who's interested. So a little bit of context for the book. The book was written, as I said, shortly after I got home from the psych ward, and I had no friends, I had no girlfriend, I didn't have a job, I just had a whole lot of free time and a whole lot of pain. And so I didn't know what to do with myself. And shortly after coming home from the psych ward, I just started piece by piece putting my life back together. And I managed to get a job at a restaurant, and that didn't last very long because my boss was a dick, for lack of a better word, and ended up getting a different job. From there I registered into college, and from there I started working out and made friends and basically rebuilt a life worth living. And one of the things that I came to in the midst of that process was, and this was in part because of Dr. Jordan Peterson, was life is suffering. Okay, that's the foundation. That is the bedrock which everything else is built on. Life is suffering, life is pain. All of the negative things that you want to avoid are what define life, because that's the common denominator across cultures, right? No matter where you go, no matter what your class is, your ethnicity, pain is a constant. It's the common denominator. And so I think to define life by luxuries and pleasantries is really, it's missing the point, because a lot of people exist not knowing those. They die never experiencing those things that you value and feel entitled to. And I think that entitlement is exactly what leads to resentment. It's what leads to arrogance, and frankly, it was what led me to ending up in the psych ward. And I see a lot of people going down a similar path, and I would hate for them to end up where I ended up. I would much rather you take the value of these lessons that I got, just take it secondhand. You don't have to go through all the trauma. But if you do, then I would hope you're resilient enough to learn from it and to take it for what it is. And so the very first entry of the book, I'm going to be following the formatting of the videos. I'm going to be following the same structure of the book. And so the first entry that I wrote about was mostly about how waking up tends to be the hardest part of the day. And the reason why is because you're starting from inertia. You are starting from, I was just asleep and unstimulated, like you have no stimulus in you. And so I think that's why the beginning of your day, the morning, that tends to set the pace for how the rest of your day is going to go. At the same time, you can't judge the entirety of your day based solely on the beginning. So if you're dictating how your day is going to go based on how you feel as soon as you get out of bed, then you're not giving yourself a fair chance. You know what I mean? So it's a dichotomy. It's like, on the one hand, this is the most critical, most important part of your day. On the other hand, you can't put too much weight on it because you have the rest of your day to go through. And so I take the actions that I deploy in the morning, I take those with all seriousness. But at the same time, I understand that if I do those actions and I take the correct steps and I'm still not in a good place, then this is the beginning. I'm barely getting my momentum going. Also, this is a weird phenomenon. I don't know if it happens with other people, but for me, I have a really hard time sleeping at night. And so at the night, it seems like that's when my energy is at its highest. And it seems like no matter how exhausted I am, I can go 24 hours being awake. If I go to bed at night, I'm gonna sleep for maybe 3-4 hours at most. I very rarely sleep 8 hours straight through, 6 hours even straight through. And so what I notice is my body tends to get tired when there's something to do, when there's a task at hand. And I feel like that's my body's way of resisting what's coming. It's my way of saying, I don't really want to do this. I would much rather sleep. And so exhaustion in that sense is an escape. It's not really it's not an authentic need for rest, And so yeah, the hardest part of the day a lot of the times is just starting it and getting it going. And if you can push through that, then the rest of your day can build momentum properly. That'll be this entry. The videos won't be very long, but each one will be, you know, sufficient for the entry that it corresponds to. So thank you so much for watching this first one. If you're interested in the book, feel free to buy it on Kindle. There'll be a link in the description, and I'll see you next time.